good morning. Good to see all of you. I'm Reverend Kirsten Boswell. I'm the University Chaplain and Dean of Multi-Faith Engagement. And if you are a regular to Newman Lumen, you'll see that we are in a different side of the room today, but it is still the same program. It's still our Thursday morning time of community and inspiration and centering. A time for us to come together and hear our community stories. And so we're very excited today to hear from MJ. And so that is going to be a little bit later. First, we're going to hear from Anthony Hodakainen for music. And so we're very excited. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anthony Hodakainen. I'm a freshman here at Elon in the Music Production and Recording Arts program. I'm singing a couple songs today. My first song is based on the poem written by my friend Wendy Mulhauser-Tingblad. It's called To Simply Be, and it's about the beauty of life and the simplicity and peacefulness of just being. It's a reminder to step back from our busy lives and look past our challenges to appreciate the beauty of life. This is To Simply Be.
Morning, everyone. It's really my genuine honor to be here today to introduce you my best friend, MJ Larrazabal. MJ and I met shortly after we were both accepted to Elon's Master of Arts in Higher Education program. About a week after we received our virtual acceptances, we got paper packets in the mail. I remember going to the mailbox, ripping my letter open, and being so excited to finally see those words in print that I'd only seen virtually. But I opened my letter and I read, "Dear Maria Jose." There had been a mistake. MJ had gotten my admissions packet in the mail, and I got hers. It was a genuine meet cute in the making, a friendship written in the Smith-Jackson stars. We added each other on Facebook that afternoon, and every day since, I've been so grateful for that mistake. When she's not spending time with me, MJ is the assistant director for the Creed, working with El Centro, a role she loves with all of her heart. Her journey to this role began at Florida International University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in communications and developed a love for higher education. MJ subsequently enrolled in the MHE program and served as the graduate apprentice for fraternity and sorority engagement. She began her career after graduate school working with international students and is thrilled to be back at Elon in this new capacity. But before Elon and before FIU, MJ's life began in Venezuela, which is the story she'll bravely share today. Please join me in welcoming my best friend, MJ Larrazabal.
Hi everyone, happy Hispanic Heritage Month. First off, I want to thank everyone who's here today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to hear my story. I appreciate it more than you may know. As my bestie Nicole said, my name is MJ Larrazabal. Well, really, it's Maria Jose Larrazabal Chacon. And I figured since you're about to know the most intimate parts of my life, you should probably know my real name. Today's Newman Lumen will focus on my immigration story, which in part isn't actually my story. It's my parents. I wouldn't be here without their decision to pick up their lives and move in order to provide my siblings and I with a better life than they ever had. I can't help but be profoundly grateful for the decisions, paths, memories, and choices my parents have made that have helped me become the person I am today. Now I'll spend the rest of my life sharing their story in hopes of educating others on people who may be different than them. When I talk about this story and my life in general, I always divide it into 3 groups, my 3 lives. I know I'm pretty young, but the trials and tribulations I've been through make me feel like I've lived multiple lifetimes, one in Venezuela, one in Miami, and one in North Carolina. My first life in Venezuela is a life I don't remember. When my parents talk about their memories of home, they paint a picture of a close-knit town, happiness radiating from the sky, and an abundance of family around at all time. Now, Venezuela is a bit of a weird subject for me because I immigrated to the United States when I was 3 years old and have no recollection of it, but I know it's supposed to be home. While I don't always consider it the place I'm from, I do think I'm bound to Venezuela in my own way. My family's what bounds me. They are the reason I embody Venezuelan culture. As the youngest one in my family, the reason I know anything about Venezuela is because I have been able to learn about my country through stories of their time there. It's made me fall in love with a place I haven't had the privilege of going to just yet, but when I do, I hope it feels like home. The decision my parents made to give up the life they had in order to give their children a better life is one I do not take lightly. We arrived permanently to Miami on August 15th, 2000. No matter what I do, this date will forever be etched in my brain. My father arrived with an H-1 visa a bit earlier than we did, meaning an American company hired my father on a visa to do professional work. We then came through an H-4 visa, which is just a way of legally getting your family to stay with you during your H-1 visa stay. When my dad was in the process of renewing all of our visas, the company that my father was working for suddenly shut down. This meant we were suddenly left without a status. We were now undocumented in this country. My parents never thought this would be a reality, as we had used all the right channels to legally get here. As they had every intention of staying in the United States, figuring out what our options were to gain residency became a race against time. We had to start from zero all over again. As years went by, my older brother became a resident through his wife, who is an American citizen. When he became a citizen, he was then able to petition for my parents to become residents. The process of a child petitioning for their parent is almost immediate, but the sad truth was the process from sibling to sibling is anything but immediate. While my parents were gifted safety, I was gifted unease. I was undocumented. I had legally come to the United States and I was left without a status. I now speak of all this in retrospect. For some context, I was a little girl when all of this was happening, and my parents tried their hardest to keep me away from it. I didn't care about my immigration status because I didn't know about my immigration status. I also didn't truly understand what it meant to be Latinx. For a long period of time, I thought I understood my Latinx identity just because I was fortunate enough to grow up in Miami. I know Miami's known for several things, but one of them is the safe haven it provides immigrants. It's a tiny Latin America. While moving from one country to another is physically, mentally, and emotionally daunting, my family's decision to relocate to Miami gave us a privilege most of my immigrant brothers and sisters don't get to have. We got to live and adjust to life in the United States in a place that mimics Latino America the most. While we might not have been American citizens at the time, we were in every sense of the word citizens of America. My family was infatuated with the American dream, and this showed by how quickly we assimilated into the culture. When I think of who I was in Miami, especially as a Latinx woman, truthfully, it was just a period of blissful ignorance. I grew up surrounded by Latinx people, so I thought my racial development began and ended there, automatically assuming I knew what it meant to be Latina. This in turn made me grow up bicultural, meaning we grew up with more than one set of cultural attitudes, customs, traditions, etc. I spoke Spanglish at home, only ate Latino food, but then spoke strictly English with my friends and wanted to celebrate holidays like Thanksgiving. I'd like to think I had a pretty easy childhood. No, we weren't rich, and sometimes living with 6 people in a 1-bedroom apartment felt really suffocating. We almost lost that tiny apartment. But there was more love to go around than most people have in their entire lives, and that's all I could ask for. But even all the love in the world couldn't have prepared me to learn the truth. I was in limbo. My parents started to have conversations with me about my immigration status as I was entering high school. Suddenly, my world looked different. I now understood that I couldn't do the things my friends were doing, getting their driver's permit, getting their first jobs, dreaming of where they would go to college. To say I was angry is an understatement. I was angry at my parents, at my friends for having privileges that I didn't, and I was especially angry with the United States. I had always followed the American dream. I made school my entire life and focused heavily on my studies because I knew I wanted to go to college someday. I was sure a scholarship would get me through the door of some prestigious institution and my parents wouldn't have to worry about going into further debt just for my education. I was wrong, very wrong. I couldn't even apply for financial aid. This meant watching my dream to go to college crash and burn almost overnight. I was limited by my immigration status and rejected by the place I call home. It kind of felt like my first heartbreak. I now truly understand what it's like to love something that doesn't love you back. It took tolls on my mental health, and that's where my history battling anxiety began. When former President Obama put out the DACA executive order, I qualified, and my life changed. Suddenly, I could get a Social Security and get my learner's permit. I could even get a credit card if I wanted to, which I deeply regret now. DACA temporarily provided me with legal protection in the US, as well as with a Social Security number, a driver's license, and most important to me, a chance to go to college. While I was and still am very grateful for the protection DACA gave me, I have to acknowledge my sentiments. The American dream let me down. I was taught to believe if I worked my whole life towards a perfect GPA and SAT scores, I'd be fine. These things mean absolutely nothing when you can't receive financial aid or scholarships. I wasn't even able to apply to my dream institution and was forced to stay in-state to attend college for lesser tuition. DACA did, however, give me access to my dream. It was my first taste of normalcy in the United States, and truthfully, words can't explain how safe it made me feel at the time. It was my bridge to the finish line. And then a miracle happened. After my parents were here for 5 years as permanent residents, they became citizens. This meant that I could finally be petitioned for through my parents. So then I became a permanent resident, and things moved really quickly after that. By the time I relocated to North Carolina in 2019 for my graduate program, I was very close to the end. I was able to apply for citizenship in September 2019. While this should have been a really exciting time in my life, moving outside of Miami, a mini Latin America, to Burlington, North Carolina was a period of dissonance and disassociation for me. I quickly learned that one, the rest of the United States is very different than Miami, and two, I didn't really understand my own racial identity. I know I should aim to be more comfortable with the uncomfortable, but I underestimated just how uncomfortable I was going to be. Suddenly, I felt landlocked in a predominantly white town in the midst of a harsh political climate. It didn't help that through this immersion in real American culture, I felt very unlike myself. Moving to North Carolina was the first time I really understood the phrase ni de aquí ni de allá, which is Spanish for neither here nor there. In September 2020, my life changed. I became a citizen. In that moment, all of the trials and tribulations my family and I had gone through vanished. Isn't it kind of silly and absolutely wild the power a piece of paper has? A piece of paper is the only thing that differentiates me from other undocumented people in this community, and I absolutely hate that for them. I would be remiss not to mention that I am not the normal. Yes, I'm a success story, but truthfully, most of my immigrant brothers and sisters aren't. The odds of them becoming a success story are very slim. People who are undocumented live their life in constant fear, anxiety, and other overwhelming feelings. It's a life that comes with struggle, strife, and trauma, and I wouldn't wish that feeling upon anyone. As I'm standing before you as one of the assistant directors in the CREED, you know that I have made the conscientious decision to educate others on how to appreciate different cultures than their own. It's hard work, but it's my heart's work, and it's my American dream. I only hope that my story prompts you all to understand the different privileges we all hold, even the ones that aren't as prevalent in our day-to-day lives. My story is an example of no matter if you do things the right way, there are so many things and outside factors that are out of your control. My parents' choices were subject to a system of immigration that didn't work perfectly for them, and it's the same for thousands and thousands of people. If you are one of those people, I promise you are not alone in these sentiments. I am with you, I hear you, and I support you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, MJ, for that, for sharing your story. I'm closing us out with another song written by my friend Wendy, very special song to me called One Child Cries. It speaks about when anyone is hurting, we all hurt too. We feel each other. Empathy is the core of this song, and such a powerful message for our world, I think. This One Child Cries.
died in the same tree.